Hello there, and welcome to episode 273 of the Good Girls Get Rich podcast. I'm your host, Karen Yankovich, and today we're going behind the scenes into the She's Linked Up world and the Good Girls Get Rich world and our business here as a whole. You know, we have made some pivots as we moved into 2024, and we've made some pivots along the road. And it was kind of brought to my attention that this is something that maybe you'd be interested in hearing about, because probably if I'm experiencing things in my business that I'm looking at and going, you know what, this isn't working the way it used to work. It's time to think about how we can best serve the people we want to serve. And maybe it's not the way we previously were serving them. If we're experiencing that, maybe you're experiencing that, right? So I'm going to take you on a little bit of a journey today over how this all came about. Because, you know, we've had, and I've talked about this a little bit on the show here and there, right? But you know, I thought that it would be, this episode is going live February 2024, right? So if you're watching it, listening or watching to this in the future, that's the moment in time that this is happening, right? So I'm going to say, I feel like 2023 was probably the first full post-pandemic business year that we had, and things changed. Things are just not working the way they used to work in 2019 and 2018, even the way they used to work when we were kind of being virtual, right? Things have changed. And I think that this is not a pandemic blame, right? But I can't ignore the fact that the entire world was shifted on its axis for a couple of years, right? And I say that because probably whether or not the world shifts on its axis, things are going to change again, right? So listening and paying attention to what's working, what's not working, what you're hearing from your clients, what you're hearing from people that maybe would be great clients, but are not joining, you know, your services or not purchasing your services, and how you can modify things and kind of stay with what's happening so that you can continue to serve at the highest level, because that's really what I'm doing, right? I, you know, am at this moment in time, we have, you know, I'm just going to go with three main offerings, right? We have our 12-week She's Linked Up Accelerator Program, which is our premier program that we've been running for years. I work with people privately, which I've been doing for years. And we've also recently rolled out a self-mastery version of our She's Linked Up Accelerator Program. And we've made some serious changes to our 12-week program because of the kinds of things that we're experiencing, right? So I want to take you back a little bit, because this comes up a lot when I talk to people, and I talk to a lot of people, right? I talk to a lot of people about what they're up to and what they're looking to do, you know, and I ask a lot of questions before we have a conversation of, does it make sense for whoever I'm speaking to get support by me and my team? Because I'm picky that I want to make sure that if you're investing in me, that I believe in my heart of hearts that I can 10 times your investment. Right? Like that's my barometer, right? So when I'm asking a lot of questions, I'm doing it because that's what I'm looking to hear, right? So back, you know, we started this program, our She's Linked Up program started as Get Linked Up. And it started, oh my gosh, maybe in 2018, maybe 2017. And it was pretty much I don't even remember how many weeks it was, but it was mostly content. And in week one or two, you were asked to write your LinkedIn profile. And what we were finding was that's where people were getting stuck, right? They were getting stuck there. So, but we were, you know, how can we help? And we did weekly group coaching calls, and we had a Facebook group supporting people. And the investment was, you know, pretty inexpensive. I don't remember, you know, I think it was around $1,000, but maybe even have been under $1,000, because it was pretty much just content only. You know, what I would do, I would reach out to people. You know, we had things built in place that were like, we could tell if you hadn't opened the training, for example, and we can trigger an automated email that says, how's everything going? We haven't heard from you, right? But what I was finding was that it didn't work for me. And here's what I mean by that. A lot of people, many people, I got started in this online business world with Marie Forleo, who is still teaching her B School course that helps so many thousands of women get started in online marketing. And her program made such a huge impact on my business, on how I grew my business. And and then this is not knocking her because I think B School was amazing for me at that time. Marie provides the service and she's like, okay, here it is. Here's what I got for you. Do it. Because if you do it, you're going to have success. If you don't do it, I can't help you. But if you do it, you're going to have success. And I think that for the most part, that's true. But I wasn't happy with that. And that's just me being, and maybe I need to get over that. Right. And I'm working towards that. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that later. Because like I remember specifically, there was somebody that I knew that bought the program. I would do a lot of speaking at events, and somebody I knew bought the program. And I saw her about a year later, and I was like, "Hey, how's it going? What did you do? How did you find the program to be blah blah blah?" She's like, "Honestly, Karen, I never even opened it." So she wasn't saying to me, "I did it and it sucked." She wasn't saying to me, "I did it and I couldn't figure it out." She wasn't saying to me, "I did it and it was amazing." She was saying to me, my $600 or $800 or $1,000 was throwaway money because I actually never even got to it. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I just didn't want that. I wanted, if people are going to invest in me and my products and services, I know I can't promise results because I don't know what you're going to do. And I can't have an expectation that 100% of the people that invest in what I do are going to do the work, but I can take things like that because it hit me in the gut, right? I take things like that and I'm like, all right, what can I change to help people understand that this is life-changing work? What we are teaching here is timeless marketing. It's not going to change when the LinkedIn algorithm changes. It's not going to change when there's a pandemic. It's not going to change, right? It's life-changing work. It's timeless marketing. And I know how much money, this friend of mine left on the table. So I went back to my team and I started thinking, and I kind of started at our messaging, and I'm like, what is it in our messaging that people are not connecting with to realize that not only should they invest in this program, but they should do the work, right? So that's about when we shifted to She's Linked Up. Because at that point, somewhere around then was when this podcast came out, right? So at that point, I just felt more connected to serving women. Because what I was finding was women were feeling it's not that I'm excluding men, because I honestly don't care what your body parts are, how you identify. I really don't. Our programs really are for you, regardless of any of that. That being said, I don't think women were feeling as included in this work. So as I was researching messaging, I was like, women are like, and I remember being in like programs and talking to them like, yeah, LinkedIn, it's just not for me. And I'm like, really? Because this is where business is happening. There's so much opportunity. Like this is where you sell your biggest packages. So we shifted to She's Linked Up because I felt like it aligned more with our podcast. And as a digital marketer, one of the things that I knew and one of the things that I teach in this program is that as you create the products and services that you're going to offer to get the kinds of contracts you want to get, that you take this program to help you with, niching is important. Right? Niching is important. And, I can argue it. I know that you can argue that I can get business anywhere, and here's what I also I know. My podcast is called Good Girls Get Rich. My programs are called the She's Linked Up programs. And probably at least half of my private clients are men. So it doesn't mean that I'm precluding men. And even with all my marketing and messaging going there, I'm still serving people that don't identify as women, right? Because I can. But from a marketing perspective, the niching helps. It helps me get known. A couple of years before that, I was not really even niched on LinkedIn. And when somebody would say, hey, I need a speaker for a conference on social media, I'm grateful that my name would get thrown out with 200 other names, right? But when I started to shift my business to mostly LinkedIn, I realized that now when somebody said, hey, I'm doing this conference, I need a LinkedIn speaker, 100 people would say, call Karen. Right. So the more I niched in my business, the more known I became for the work that I was doing. And some of you guys might remember the Get Seen, Be Heard days where I was working with Christina Daves. And Christina is a PR. She teaches PR strategies. And I learned so much from Christina that's actually another niche that I brought with me to the She's Linked Up programs. I think because I wanted women to not only feel included on LinkedIn, but also to be stepping into LinkedIn feeling confident and having credibility. And I knew the PR piece really brought credibility. So this is now how I was starting to niche in my business as I started to grow the business. So so somewhere over the pandemic, we niched down to She's Linked Up. We built, even in Get Linked Up, we had PR in there. And I was looking at where people were getting stuck, and where they were getting stuck was they just didn't want to write their own profiles. And I get that. I'm not a writer. I don't even want to write my own profile. I have profile writers on my team that do that for me. So I said, all right, well, maybe it's time to increase the investment and do more for them. So we changed the program up, and instead of giving you training on how to write your LinkedIn profile, we said, I'm going to take this off of your plate. We're going to write your LinkedIn profile for you, because I know that that's not your zone of genius. It is our zone of genius. And I know when you show up through the rest of this work with this amazing profile, everything changes for you. So of course, I, as the CEO, had to do the mindset work around, I'm like doubling our prices now, right? We're going from 1,000 to 2,000 or even more because of my cost. Like, we have great LinkedIn profile writers, right? So they're not inexpensive. So I had to do the mindset work and really start to step into, this is becoming a multi-$1,000 program. And I'm going to kind of get like, go with the good and the bad over the next couple of years from there. It's because I got to tell you something. What started to happen as we started to increase the investment level and to increase the deliverables in the program, our students were doing the program and finishing the program, and they were having more and more success. Right. Which is what I wanted in the first place. Like, I'm not here to just listen. I love money. I think, we talked about this, I think last week, or episode 272 or 271. I have a big mission, and big missions take big money. So it's not like I have anything against that, but there's some mindset work that has to happen as you start to increase your prices. We started to build this into She's LinkedUp, and now we were writing the profile. And I started taking courses, right? Because I'm always taking courses. I've always got a coach. And I started learning more about identity and mindset. And I started to realize that was the next hurdle that so many of our students and our clients were having. Because many of the people that take our programs, many times they're stepping into a new identity. Maybe you left corporate and you're stepping into the entrepreneur world, or maybe you are, you've never been a consultant before. How could you know how to be a consultant? You've always been an employee, and now you're a complete identity shifting. And now you're asking people for money instead of getting a paycheck, right? So there's a lot of internal work that has to happen for you to have the kind of success I wanted my students and clients to have. So we started to incorporate more mindset work. And I started to think at that point, well, what if I bring in a mindset coach? What if I bring in other coaches that are, that have more expertise than me in these things? And honestly, we had amazing coaches. I absolutely loved them. But what I realized, and this is where this got tricky for me as the CEO, I remember distinctly having a call with somebody, and she was saying to me, I talked to somebody the other day, I don't remember her name. And I was like, oh boy, I am confusing my people. I am giving them this 12-week course and giving them this team of people that are swooping in and shifting everything for them. And they don't even know who these people are. Right. So I was like, I'm all about over delivering. But when you're creating a group program and when you're looking for people to actually, like, you're looking for measurable success, I realized I was overcomplicating it, and I needed to simplify it. Okay. So, because what was happening too was, as we were bringing in all these additional coaches, we were continuing to increase the investment. Right. And again, as we did that, our students were having great success, and we were getting amazing, amazing people, but I was confusing them. Right. And I remember, again, I've taken a lot of courses. I remember Stu McLaren taking their Tribe course, or whatever it's called now, the membership experience. At the time it was called Tribe. And one of the things he talked about, and this wasn't really a membership, but, I learned a lot from Tribe through that. He said, the worst thing you can do for your people's success is to confuse them, is to give them too much stuff. You need to strip out the things so that you're giving them only what they need to take the next step to have the success. Okay. So we shifted the program again, right? And we kept the mindset training in there. But instead of having all these different coaches that they were speaking to, now what we did was we shifted to accountability coaches. So at some point in, I think, 2022 or 2023, we added in, instead of getting all these different coaches teaching all these different things, we taught that in the training. I started, and at the time I was always doing in our programs, we have Mindset Monday. So every Monday in any level of our program, you get access to our Mindset Monday calls, which is where I come to the entire student community, past and present. You get access to these Mindset Monday calls, even as an alumni. And I give you some, how do you start to think and be like this person you want to think and be? Because I recognize that all the strategy in the world that I could teach wasn't going to help people have the kind of success they wanted if their mindset wasn't in the right place, right? We had so many women with ambitions up here, but their energy and their vibe was here. And there's a disconnect, right? We needed to raise their vibe to match their energy. And that's where so they still were getting the Mindset Monday courses, and we started to shift the program again, because again, I felt that the accountability calls, and they're short 15-minute accountability calls, but I was in a program that gave me accountability calls, and I'm like, this is amazing, because I don't ever join a program and intend to not do the work, right? But I'm busy, and the women in our program are smart, successful, busy women, right? So stripping out all the busy work that they didn't need to do was really helpful. But I still, I knew the value of, you know what, I got my accountability call tomorrow. I better get that done before then, right? So I was actually getting the work done in the program. So we incorporated that. So now the program's still 12 week. So, at that time, still 12-week programs. We had the accountability calls in there, and, the investment's been the same for years now. Like it increased when we had all the additional coaching. We shifted the coaching from all these different people to more accountability, more solid but powerful training. Still do weekly coaching calls in there as well with the whole group that I do. And at the time, the program was evergreen. So you join when you join and you end when you end. Well, one of the other challenges I was having, and this might be one you're experiencing, one of the other challenges I was having was getting people out of there after 12 weeks. And I don't mean that in a mean way, right? Like, we continue to serve our students on the back end with our alumni group, with our, with our client only Facebook group. And at some point over that time, we were getting asked, how can I continue to work with you guys? So we do now have our back end She's LinkedUp Scale at Society Mastermind that's only open to people that have been through our initial program. So we've incorporated that. But life gets in the way sometimes, and you have to take a month off, and you need, and then you need to, and it was just becoming a chore. But and by the way, that didn't serve anybody. It didn't serve our students, and it didn't serve us when we were giving them too much rope. Like, they just kept extending it and extending it. And I wanted to help them, but at the end of the day, it wasn't really serving them by extending it. They needed to do the work. So mid 2023, so not that long ago, we moved the program to Cohorts. And I got to tell you something, talk about needing to do work around this. I needed to do a lot of work around that, because I do not want to do launches. I do not want to do launches. But what was happening was, because we didn't have a natural end date for people. I mean, we did, right? But, they would meet people in the group, and then they, if they moved, they'd continue to get to know them in the student group. And also, if they joined our Scale at Society, they could continue to work with them, but it was just a little disjointed. So we did a pilot in the middle of 2023, and we moved to Cohorts, and oh my gosh, do I love this. And we did this again. These are all things we're doing so that our students can have better success. Right now, moving to Cohorts was nerve-wracking for me, because I'm like, now I got to fill them, right? Now I got to fill Cohorts. So, we made the commitment to do monthly cohorts. And what we found was our students were now bonding more with the people in their cohorts. Our weekly group calls. Now, remember, I have not increased the investment of the price all these years. But now we were doing more than one call per week, because each cohort had to have a call, right? So if we start a cohort in September, their calls are on whatever, Tuesdays at noon, then our October cohort is a different time, and our November cohort, they're all running simultaneously. So my team now has to be on 3 calls a week. I need to now be on 3 calls a week instead of 1 call a week, right? So our costs were going up a little bit, but we didn't increase it because our students were loving it. We had a natural end. They ended all together. We could have a little bit of a graduation celebration together. And the other thing too is, on those weekly calls, when we had one weekly call where all the different people, when they joined, whenever they joined, were on that call, we had people in week 2 and people in week 10. So people in week 2 were hearing me answer questions that they didn't know what I was talking about, right? And people in week 10, while they were amazing and so supportive of our new students, It's not their job to teach my students. It's my job, right? And my team's job. So I didn't want to waste their time. So moving to cohorts was such an amazing thing. So I still like to have, I still have the energy of Evergreen, right? Like I'm still not doing launches. So it's still an Evergreen program, but now we can fit people into whatever the most appropriate cohort for them is moving forward, which was amazing. But we weren't done yet. And this gets us to kind of where we're at today. As I really believe that, again, February 2024, I have a hard drive full of content, right? I really think that more and more people were looking for more and more personalized support. And I'm always looking for ways to do that. Listen, you can hire me privately and you get all the personalized support you want. But of course, that's the most expensive way. That's the highest investment in working with us because that's, the most of my time. And as I continue to build my business, I can't continue to build my business if it's completely dependent on my time. So I have to, and it has to align that way, right? No one's going to join the group programs if my one-on-one services are cheaper, right? I want to be able to way over deliver. So we started looking at, again, where are people getting stuck? And, I have a brilliant team. We have great copy people on our team and just such supportive. The people that work for me are just so amazing. So one of the after brainstorming, what we decided to do, and this is something we're piloting right now in February of 2024. So if you want in on this, today's the day to book a call on the calendar, KarenYankovich.com/call, get you to that calendar. We are overlaying more done for you services. So what does that mean? Prior to this, I would describe the program as hybrid, right? Some of it we do for you. We write your profile for you because that never changed because that's so important. Some of it we do with you, right? So we have these weekly accountability calls. They're 15-minute calls, but once a month, those calls are half an hour. And every week you get the opportunity to brainstorm with me on the group coaching calls. So we do a lot of it with you. And then obviously you can't outsource relationship building. So some of it you do yourself, right? You're doing the outreach yourself. We have a line that we draw in the sand that is still to this day, I don't ever log into your LinkedIn profile as you. I don't know your password. I'm never logging in as you. So even when we write your profile, if you want help, we can Zoom so you can screen share and we can go in and do some changes for you, but we don't log in as you. You drive that bus, right? So what we decided to do was do more done for you. Because again, the women that we're working with are smart, successful women. Maybe they're coming out of corporate. They don't know how to do this. They've never written content like this before. LinkedIn content. And by the way, what we're doing throughout all of these years was also helping our women and our students get publicity, right? Interviewed on podcasts, booked on TV or video slots, media interviews on newspapers and magazines, blogs, guest blogs, all the things, right? Speaking on stages, all the things like that's part of the credibility we help build in. Because what I know is that, again, it's that mindset, that imposter syndrome when even if your transition is, I am so over the 6-figure coach, it's time for me to be a 7-figure coach, which is exactly where I want you, right? But if you're stepping into that, you've got mindset challenges around that stuff. So we're still doing all of that. Our goal for everyone that joins the program is that they have a media hit by the end of their 12 weeks. And, maybe have booked a talk if that's what they're looking to do. And also got a big, fat, juicy contract signed. The very first thing that happens, even now in all versions of our program or in the 2 top versions of our program, is I do a call with them personally to kind of get really clear on like what their target is. What is your target, right? And then we want you to get a contract for that by the time we're done working within those 12 weeks, hopefully sooner. And we were saying things to them like, okay, so we would talk to them and say, okay, let's create some pitches. But asking them to create pitches was kind of like asking them to write their own LinkedIn profile, right? So what we're doing now is the 12-week program is exactly the same as it's always been because it is so good. I mean, our students are getting such great results and I don't want to mess with that. But we are overlaying more done for you. So what does that mean? We are going to give you, the program is 3 months. We're giving you 6 months worth of content. 6 months worth of content for you to post on LinkedIn or wherever you want to post it. And by the way, you own the IP to all of this because I want you to have the success, right? And we know how to do this. And this is where we were seeing our students getting stuck. So in addition to that, we're also coming up with helping them come up with their pitches, right? Their talks, their talk titles, their bios. We're actually creating a full on media kit for our students now so that they have at their fingertips their bios, their talk topics. If they're getting interviewed for podcasts, like a lot of times you get asked for your headshots or pictures that you've had before. We're creating their speaker one sheets. We're creating JV, joint venture one sheets, because that's a big part of the work we do. We're creating joint venture worksheets, speaker one sheets, like podcast guest one sheets, right? Like I want them to have, we're creating all of this for them. Okay. So that you will walk away from this 12 weeks, not with just the strategy, but with everything that is plug and play. So we're doing this for them and with them in months 1, 2, and 3 of our 12-week program. In month 3, we're transitioning it back to them. But here's the other thing. Again, I think about me, what I would want, right? We're also letting them enroll their assistants if they have a VA or an assistant at no additional charge. And we're helping their assistants because I want them to stay in the place of being the expert on the other side of the 12 weeks, not go back to having to post all this stuff, right? So we'll train their assistant on how to support them, how to do all the research, because one of the things we do is research on what podcast they may want to pitch and, so that they have that and they can roll that out, joint venture partners that they might want to have. So they can roll that out once they're on the other side of our 12 weeks together. So they can bring an assistant with them as part of the program at no additional charge. These are all things that we're doing because we want the women in our program to be wealthy, to be building generational wealth. And you can't do that if you're spending half your time doing all the busy work, right? So I'm telling you all of this. The reason for this whole podcast is because I feel like it's so important. Like, I guess I don't talk about this stuff a lot. We've made these changes, but I don't really talk about the whys behind all of this. Now, at this moment in time, we're still calling the 12-week program our done for you with the done for you overlay, a pilot, because I might add things. In fact, somebody asked me a question recently about the IP, who owns the IP. I'm like, wow, I never even thought about that. This is why we're calling this a pilot. So now we're redoing the contract to add that, right? You own the IP. I don't want to own your IP for your content. I want you to own it and you to have it. I'm not a photographer. I'm not taking pictures. There's no reason for me to own any of the content that you have, right? So you have the intellectual property rights to everything that we do for you. But here's the thing. So at this moment in time, February 2024, we're still calling this a pilot because we've got a January pilot running and we're running one more pilot, and we have not increased the investment. Which, as you can imagine, my costs are going up significantly because we're creating all this content for you. So we have not increased the investment. So if you want to know more about what that looks like, literally today's the day to book the call because we only have a few more spots left at the pilot pricing. The investment is going up for the first time in like 4 or 5 years. The investment is going up because, again, I need to get this right, and then it needs to be priced accordingly so that, we can way over deliver for you. So again, now that's me doing some mindset work around all of that. But here's where, talk about needing mindset work, right? Everything I've talked to you guys about so far, I'm cool with, because I'm very comfortable that our program, at whatever the price point is worth at least 10 times that. And we actually teach you how to do that work so that you believe that about your program, so that when you're having these conversations, the kind of results people can expect. And they're truly life-changing results in many cases. But here's the other thing. I went to an event a couple months ago, and there was a few people there that were interested in learning more about LinkedIn, but they were not. When I say they're not far in their journey, you could be brand new to your journey, right? But you've got to be coming to it with expertise, right? Like you're probably not just coming right out of college. But I just knew the full program, which just wasn't for them yet. And I kind of felt like I feel like I can't help these people. And I didn't love that feeling. So one of the other things that we're doing, and this is the program I mentioned earlier, we are now, for the first time ever, almost kind of going back to the beginning of this, keeping the She's LinkedUp 12-week accelerator with the done for you overlay, keeping that, but we're also going to be now offering a self-mastery version of it. Because I can do it. Because if you're not ready to step into this full program where we're throwing you into a phone booth, whipping you up, having you coming out looking like Superwoman, and really having you step into your next chapter in a big way. If really what you want to just do is dip your toe in it right now, you can do that with our self-mastery program, which of course is the investment is a lot lower than the full program. We have an option for for you to be able to migrate to the full program if you want down the road, and we can give you we can take some of the investment from the self mastery towards that. But I got to tell you something, I'm more nervous about that because that takes me back to the beginning, which is where I was like, people are going to buy this and not do it, and I got to do the work and realize that's just what happens, right? That's just what happens. I don't want it to happen. So we're doing things like our self-mastery students are still they're getting immediately added to our client Facebook group so that they have immediately reactive support from us. And we've hired a community manager for that group. And then they also get access to our Mindset Monday calls. So they get some access to they get some of me live, and but basically it's a program that they do on their own, right? So we're excited about that. I'm a little bit nervous about that because I know my area of expertise is really, I'm diving in with you. I'm diving in. We're going to make this happen in a big way. And with the self-mastery, I've got to go back to kind of realizing, just like I have bought many programs that I haven't done, there's going to be people that might do that, right? And that's the kind of some of the mindset work that I have to do. I hope that you do it if you buy the program, and I'm going to help you wherever I can. But that's kind of where we're at today with all of this. So I know this was long. This is a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, or that I was hoping it was going to be. And I hope it was helpful to you to kind of understand the journeys that we've had, because I have to, as the CEO of my company, I've got two, I probably got more than two roles, right? But one role is to make sure that our students are well supported and are being served at my highest level, but also to run the company, right? How do we bring profits in? How do I make sure that the company has the money to continue to run these programs and to do all these things? Because I got to tell you something. Sometimes when I'm talking to my students and they're like just doing consulting and they charge $20,000 and they don't have a team or anybody, it's just them. I'm like, ooh, that sounds nice. Maybe I should do that every now and then, right? So I'm telling you this because obviously there's costs to go with all of these things. And I have to understand as a CEO, how do I best serve my students so we get the right people at the right investment level, and that my team can best support them, right? And it's a delicate balance. It's a delicate balance, as you can tell by all the trajectory over the last few years. So wherever you are on that, if you resonated with any of this, you're not alone, right? Obviously, I'm right here with you. My truly at the heart, my heart of hearts, my goal, my mission in this world is I want there to be more wealthy women in the world. Women with money can have more choices. And so many women are stuck in a place wherever they're stuck at because they don't have the money to make the kind of choices that they want to make. And women with money can donate money, can create charities, can create nonprofits, can vote with, for the people, can donate, to the people they for causes that they believe in. Right. So that is why it's a heart of everything that I do. If that sounds good to you, this is definitely the time to book a call. KarenYankovich.com/call gets you on the calendar so we can talk about what, if any of these three programs is a good fit for you. And again, I will tell you if I don't think it is. I really will, because sometimes it's just not, right? Like if you come to me and you tell me, Karen, I sell pens, I want to sell one more pen, I'm not going to be able to help you with that. But if you say, Karen, I sell pens, it's time for me to get a distributor that wants to buy 10,000 of those pens. Now I want to talk to you, right? Now I want to talk to you. So if you've listened before to this show, or if you love what you're hearing today, you know that I would love for you to make sure that you're following this show wherever you're listening to it, Apple Podcasts or wherever. A review would be amazing. We love your reviews because it helps me understand what resonates with you, and I can do more of that. I'd love for you to share this episode on social media. Make sure that you tag me. Use the hashtag #GoodGirlsGetRich. I will be sure to share your post with my audience because I want you to get more visibility. That's how we create more wealthy women in this world. Is that visibility? That visibility alone isn't going to put any money in your pocket, right? But we want targeted strategic visibility that leads to more business. So there's a link in the show notes for SpeakPipe. You can get to the show notes at KarenYankovich.com/273. There's a link in the show notes to SpeakPipe where you can leave us an audio message. I love them. I respond to every single one of them personally. So you can see everything there. And just remember, like, I'm here to support you however I can. You start with our community right here, right now. This is where it starts, right? When you're listening to this show. So I'm here for you. I'll see you back here next week. Thanks.